been doing it for like 7 years now, and I just feel like it's not a long-term viable option.
That to me screams distraction, pulling you away from the broader, bigger goal of making a bunch of money. I've been taking 100 grams of creatine a day just to try to slowly catch up. That's why you look so puffy today.
Yeah. How do you know what's worth pursuing that?
I personally think that like doing more personal training, what is the skill that you can be building that's going to generate a ton of potential energy in your life? Everything I feel like I was about and that I understood was how do I make my hourly rate as high as possible and then just put hours to work. You got that Gen Z look.
I do, right?
You do.
$1,700 a month in my bank account. Talk about Gen Z.
It talks about how there's 4 types of luck. So the first type is you start attracting luck to you, you start spotting luck around the rooms.
Do you think that being really attached to like structure and your life in order could also...
Yes, be a negative?
Good. Maybe breathe a little bit.
We're gonna film this entire workout because Lucas and I have been training together. I don't even know how to characterize what we do. It's a combination of training and mentorship. So Lucas is younger than me, but much stronger and more jacked than me. So he helps me get more jacked. I help him, I don't know, try to make some more money and make something of yourself.
With every other facet of my life. Outside of doing bench press. So.
The attempt is going to be to capture that. We're just gonna film the whole workout.
Yep.
Walk through the entire upper body push workout with us. That's gonna be chest, shoulders, triceps. And at the same time, capture probably 3 or 4 mentorship related topics and questions that have been on his mind that we're gonna talk through. So come along with us, enjoy. We always open up with some sort of bench, incline dumbbell bench today. A couple warm-up sets before we get into it.
Let's go.
Second warm-up set. All right, so what do you want to talk about today, dude? What's on your mind?
I think the biggest thing on my mind is like my personal training business. I don't know, I've been doing it for like 7 years now, and I just feel like it's not like a long-term viable option for me.
Why?
Because let's say like, dude, even if I train like 7 people a day, I'm making whatever 70% of $100 or whatever it is for each session. Like that's not, all my time is being taken up throughout the day.
Yeah. How old are you?
27.
Okay. I mean, this is like, we've talked about this in the past, but when you're trying to figure out what to do with your life, there's like a distraction that kind of sits right in front of you.
Yeah.
That's like the obvious thing you can do in the moment.
Which is training in mind.
It might be, I don't know yet. And then there's the like bigger picture, long-term thing that you're actually trying to build towards. And the risk is that the distraction is paying you money.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, that makes sense. Let me keep doing that thing because I can keep building it. And the reality is like, if it is a distraction, it's just taking that same energy that you could deploy into the thing that's going to be higher upside in the future. And you're not able to do both. So like, as you're pursuing the distraction and spending more and more time on it, you're actually harming your ability to go after the bigger thing in the long run.
So let me ask you this, how am I supposed to know? Yeah, first set. How am I supposed to know that it's a distraction? Like in my eyes?
Like it depends on your goals, right? So like it sounds like you're really trying to focus on, go get it. Is it 2 for a set?
Yeah.
All right, I'll wait until you know. Come on. Boy.
I gotta do the same weight as Sahil, so that means coming down on the eccentric for like 20 seconds to make up for the lightweight.
But not that much stronger than me. He's talking a big game, but it ain't it.
If Sahil gets stronger than I am, then...
That's true. I've been taking 100 grams of creatine a day just to try to slowly catch up. Come on.
That explains the severe bloating.
Yeah. That's why you look so puffy today?
Yeah, it's your puffiness, bro. Don't I cute?
Come on. So the thing about the distraction that I was saying is like, it totally depends on your goal. So to me, when I hear you talk, you're trying to find like the scalable path that's going to allow you to make a bunch of money. And when I hear training, like the way you scale training is time. It's just going to be you spending more time on the thing to make more money. So like, yeah, can you make 20 grand a month training? Probably. But like, it's going to mean you working 80 hours a week as a trainer. And so that to me screams distraction because it's just time that's pulling you away from the broader, bigger goal of making a bunch of money, finding the scalable path.
Let's go, come on. Up. Put that creatine to work. Let's go. Control up. How do you know what's worth pursuing then? How do you know what skills are
I think of it a lot as
worth
like
developing?
I think of it a lot as about energy. So like when you were in school, you learned about potential versus kinetic energy.
Yeah.
Like in physics, potential energy is energy that is yet to be released. Kinetic energy is active.
Yeah.
Kinetic energy is like the thing that's generating you income in the present. And sometimes there's a trap with kinetic energy that you're trying to continue, like you're doing the personal training, it's generating kinetic energy, you're generating income from it.
Not that much income, but yeah.
It's not generating any potential, you're not creating any potential energy with it.
No.
There's nothing that's building that's gonna like generate the actual 10x, 100x, 1000x opportunities or leverage in the future. And so the kinetic energy is a trap because it feels good. You're like getting the dopamine hit from making a little bit of money from it, but it's pulling you away from the potential energy, which is the bigger thing that is actually gonna have leverage and upside. So what you need to figure out in my mind is like, what is the skill that is built, that you can be building that's gonna generate a ton of potential energy in your life? That's gonna be like the highest leverage path that you can pursue, the thing you're really excited about doing. When I hear you talk about like production, you talk about video, you talk about creative work, that's where I see you light up. And when I think that like, that's probably the path that has more potential energy. But it's not to say that like you should throw away all of the kinetic energy you have. So like I never tell you, oh, just quit full out everything that you're doing, because like the income is good, right? Like it de-risks you in pursuing the other path. Like you can still pay for groceries, pay for bills.
Yeah.
But
Need to.
I personally think that like doing more personal training is a dumb idea. Because like that same energy that you'd be deploying into that to make a few thousand extra dollars, you could be deploying into something that might generate you tens, 20, hundreds of thousands of dollars in some other pursuit or some other path. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Second set.
Easier said than done, but
Easier
yeah.
said than done. I mean, it's everything in life.
Yeah, of course.
Everything in life is easier said than done.
You're in private equity.
Yeah.
How do you know that that's your kinetic energy and not something that you want to pursue long term? Right? How do you know it's not that potential energy? How did you know that what you're doing now, writing, content creation, was going to be your potential energy?
I actually don't think it was. If you were to like map out, if my goal was making a lot of money, I would have stayed in private equity for both potential and kinetic energy. I was making a whole lot of kinetic energy, making a lot of money, but also the potential of it from like, if you were to like risk adjust your path to making 30 or $50 million, it's like the best path once you're on it and you're doing well.
Yeah.
Like my goal wasn't to just maximize the amount of money I was making. That wasn't what I cared about. So like, it changes your entire, I mean, I wanted a true like balanced life. I wanted to be able to go into the pool with my son at 1 p.m. on a Wednesday. Never gonna be able to do that. No path in private equity is ever gonna allow that because it's high on income, but not high on freedom. You don't have a whole lot of like control over your time. And to me, when I was like defining what I wanted and what I viewed as wealth, a lot of it went beyond just the money. And so as I then look at like potential and kinetic energy, you have to change the metrics that you're actually looking at of like, what was it? So like on a traditional scale, like it would make no sense for me to make that switch.
Yeah, it would be an irrational move to.
Yeah, once I got into it, then it's like, okay, now you're doing it. Now what you're doing is going down the rabbit hole, figuring out, like you're building the skill, building the potential energy, and you're trying to find what is the skill, what is like the actual way, the highest leverage way for me to use this skill. So like writing, the lowest leverage way is to be like a journalist at a newspaper, right? That's like
failure.
$30,000, $40,000. Not failure, but like it's just a low leverage way, right? Like if you're one of the smartest people in the world, one of the lowest economic leverage ways and freedom leverage ways to use that is to be a professor at a school. My dad is one of the foremost professors in his field, but it's a very low leverage financially way of approaching a skill, like an asset and expertise.
Sure, yeah.
The way I think about it is like any field you go into, any skill you build, there's like the low leverage paths and there's the high leverage paths. And so at every stage, it's like thinking about, okay, I have this skill and building this expertise. What is the highest leverage way that I can use this expertise? And in any field, there are those exist, right? Like being an expert in some random esoteric field, you might be able to use that in a really high leverage way as an investor. Like it might generate incredible leverage as an investor and very low leverage as an academic. And it doesn't mean one is right or one is wrong, but if you're talking about leverage and you're trying to get after leverage, you're trying to generate great financial returns, freedom, all these other things, then you have to be thinking about leverage, because you have to think about how can my 1 unit of effort turn into 100 units of output.
So let me ask you this, why aren't really bright, brilliant people trying to figure out, I mean, sure, some of them do, but why aren't they trying to figure out the highest leverage path?
I don't think we're taught that in school. Like I think there's like a fundamental gap in what we're told in school. Like you think of just like, oh, what's the traditional way for me to make money? And the traditional way that you constantly are told is like time for money trades, right? It's like hourly work. And how can I get my hourly rate as high as possible? So like the smartest kids in your class go and become lawyers, doctors, consultants, whatever. And it's time for money. And it's a really great time for money trade. Like a lawyer might make $2,000 an hour. A dentist might make $2,000 an hour, whatever. It's super, super high. And that feels good. You can build a good life, but you're never going to make $1 million an hour. You're never going to make $100,000 an hour doing that. And it's why also, by the way, like the richest doctors in the world are podcasters or like they're content creators because they're generating extreme leverage on their level of insight.
Drop on this one.
All right.
Or, you know what we could do? I think we should like leave a few reps left in the tank and then not do the drop set. Because it's Memorial Day weekend, you know, we kind of just want to hang out and chill. Play with Roman by the pool.
Yeah. That leverage discussion is important. So like, I do feel like it's just a deficiency in like our education system that we're not taught that in school. You never would have learned that. I didn't know that, right? Like I just, everything I feel like I was about and that I understood about working was how do I make my hourly rate as high as possible and then just put hours to work. And like, you don't understand. It's why the phrase, like people say that like common trope of like everything changes when you make your first dollar on the internet. And it's like kind of a lame saying, but there's some truth to it of like, once you realize that the same unit of effort can either make you that fixed rate or it can be totally dislocated and generate a massive amount. Like for me, my newsletter, I'm writing the exact same newsletter I was 2 years ago. It's just that today it goes out to 750,000 people. 2 years ago, it went out to 50,000 people. So 2 years ago, when I would send it, a sponsor might pay $500 for one issue. Now they pay $10,000 for that same issue. So like, I'm sending the same newsletter. I'm not doing any more writing, any more research, any more work. It's just there's leverage. So like every single time I send it now, it makes $10,000. I send 10 a month. Like there's just make $100,000 a month off of a newsletter. Like, I mean, it's the exact same newsletter that was the point. You're not doing more work for it.
You were consistent though.
Yeah, I mean, very few people would write 2 newsletters a week for 3 years without taking a day off.
How were you able to be consistent, whereas 99.9% of people would do it for like a couple months and be like, F this isn't making me any money. I need to do something, I need to get a real job, quote unquote.
I mean, I enjoy doing it, I have energy for it. Important, you have to enjoy doing the thing you're doing in order to do it for long periods of time. The other thing is just not being soft. Like, most people have too much softness about quitting as soon as something doesn't work. Like, the second something is hard, you're just like, I'm just not gonna do it. I think of like quitting as, there's sort of 2 types of quitting. There's quitting that's like, I'm gonna just stop doing the thing. And then there's quitting that's more like a pivot, where you're like, the current version of this is not quite right. Let me like attack it from a slightly different angle. I'm technically quitting that thing that I was doing, but it's actually just like a slight reallocation of the energy into a different angle on it. And that's important. You need to do that constantly because you need to figure out like, like my newsletter has changed. What it was early on is different from what it is now. Technically, there was like hundreds of quitting stages along the way because I was quitting the thing that wasn't working as well and focusing on the thing that was working better. But I don't know, man. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like you have to embrace, you have to have an expectation of how challenging something is going to be before you set out to do it. If you think something's going to be easy, you're never going to make it through it. And that applies to everything in life. But like with anything you're trying to do in your career, if you think it's just going to be a clear, easy path from making no money to making $100,000 a month, you're in for a long, hard road. But if you know at the outset, this is going to be brutal, this is going to be a grind, this is going to be like failures, pounding my head into a wall, grueling, but on the other side of that is something that I really want, and you know you can make it through that, then like once you get into the mud and once it's miserable, you expected that, so you're not surprised. Like you get into it and you're like, I fucking live in this shit. I don't care. I can live here. It doesn't matter.
How much of getting to that end point do you think is attributed to hard work, and how much of it is luck? Because like you can work your ass off for so long and so hard in one thing and go nowhere. Just based off of being unlucky and not getting the opportunities that you thought you deserved or you expected.
There's this really cool model that there's 4 types of luck. There's this guy, Dr. James Austin, first wrote about it, I think like in 1978. He wrote this book called like Chase Chance and the Lucky Art of Novelty or something like that. And he talks about how there's 4 types of luck. So the first type is blind luck. That's like acts of God, chance occurrences of the universe, like where you're born, random things that happen.
Me meeting you, blind luck.
Yeah, like random things that happen. Sure. That's technically not really blind luck, which I'll explain.
Okay.
Random chance occurrences of the universe, based circumstances of your life, things you truly can't control, people getting sick, etc. Second type is luck from motion, which is like luck that you're creating by creating collisions in the world. Like you are just moving, hustling, getting in front of people, getting into spaces, and that creates luck. So you say, oh yeah, it's lucky, but really it's because you were just like hustling and creating all these collisions. Third type is luck from awareness, which is you start to develop an expertise and a mastery at a craft, which means that you're really good at spotting lucky events. So you're like, I'm such an expert at X, Y, or Z that I know, like I can see how things are coming together, that like I'm gonna position myself there, and that's where the luck strikes. And then the fourth type is luck from uniqueness, which is you're such an expert at a craft and your own like eccentricities and hobbies attract luck to you. So like when something happens, people are coming to you because they know you as the expert in that field. So the way I think about it is like the early part of your life is totally governed by blind luck. It's just where you're born, things you can't control.
Sure.
But then as your life progresses, it's the other types of luck that you can control through your actions. So like luck from motion, when you're young in your 20s, hustling gets you into rooms that you wouldn't have been in. So you being here, hustling, working hard, you're like, getting into rooms that you wouldn't have been in creates luck. And then as you start to develop a skill, expertise, mastery, you start attracting luck to you, you start spotting luck around the rooms. And so like, is it attributable to luck? Absolutely. But like, it's kind of earned luck. You actually earned the right to get lucky in those events. Yeah, that shit'll change your life right there.
You think it's lucky that I'm able to overhead press 20 pounds more than you, or is that just from
I think that's genetics.
genetic? It's not hard work or
Base, no. It's probably because you got tanning lotion done.
Don't bring that up. I'm naturally dark. It's olive, bro.
Because like my first move, if my hair started falling out, would just be go bald.
No, it's
It's bad.
obviously, it's bad.
You do hair plugs?
Do I do hair plugs?
Yeah.
No, why? Does it look like I do hair
I don't know. Yeah, just was curious.
Is my hairline really that
He's got
good?
that Gen Z haircut, the little like perm on top thing. Do you get that done or is that natural?
Just natural.
Oh. He's got that Gen Z look.
I do, right?
I do.
Yeah, it's really
Strong, tan.
Yeah, $1,700 a month in my bank account. Talk about Gen Z. That's Gen Z for you right there.
Thinks he should be the CEO of every company he joins.
Yeah. CEO of Sahil Bloom already.
That's right. Have you ever seen those memes on Instagram that are like, it's incredible what a good haircut will do for you, and it's like a little white kid like getting a haircut, and then they're trimming him up, and then it goes like boom, and it's just this like massive jacked black guy.
Bro,
those memes kill me, dude. Like the nerdy white kid, it just goes like boom. It's crazy what a good haircut will do for you.
It really does make you feel like that.
So funny.
I love you, Bobby. Relationships how you fit them into your life,
Oh yeah, social relation. That's a good one.
right? You wake up at 4 a.m. to do the cold plunge. You have a very, very
Dude, by the way-
structured life. How do you fit in your social life?
Social life is overrated. That's my answer.
I don't know if I agree with that.
No, look, I think it's like narrowing the aperture over the course of your life, right? Like when you're in your 20s and early 30s, you have the like wide open aperture
You're in your early 30s.
where you're spending time with tons of different people, building tons of relationships, networking, quote unquote, and like starting to compound that network from the early days. But then as you get older, you start narrowing like who is creating a lot of value and driving you forward in your life, and who do you really want to spend time with. And at that point, social life, like I don't go out to social events. I have one-on-one dinners with people that I really want to spend time with and I want to go deeper with. But like when I go into the city, I'm not going to a bar to hang out with like 10 people anymore. That's what I did in my 20s. Like when I was a kid, that's what I did. But now, like what I want to do is I want to have deeper conversations with people that I really want to get to know and learn and appreciate. And, you know, once a month, spend time with like a bigger group of people and do the kind of like more traditional like party type thing. But most of the time, my social life, like I want it to just be being able to really generate depth with people rather than being about breadth, if that makes sense. I'd say like in general, as I've gotten older, I've just learned to appreciate depth much more than breadth when it comes to relationships. I want people that I can really like go to war with, trust. Yeah, and that only comes from going deeper. You don't get that at a 6-person dinner. You only get that one-on-one. I mean, how much closer have you and I become when we started training together?
Insane.
I didn't know you 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, we just met.
Yeah, like a month ago, literally.
April 21st, after my half marathon.
That's when we started training?
I think so.
Yeah, it's been a month. A little over a month. That's crazy. How did that even happen?
Because my wife called me skinny after my half marathon.
I know, but when?
So I said I needed to train. By the way, one of the things that I've definitely learned training with you, you don't need like 80 different machines or locations in the gym in order to get a great session in.
Nope.
Like we just did that entire first 3 rounds of stuff just in that one area.
Absolutely.
Are we going low to high here?
Yeah, we're day 2. Yeah, a lot of people have like beginners mostly.
I mean, I'm like that. I'm like, oh, I need novelty. I need all the different stuff. And the reality is like the boring basics that will get it done.
45 minutes to find this handle. Jesus Christ. Beginners have the tendency to complicate things.
Yeah.
Like with training, every new person that I train, it's like they always ask, like, when are we gonna change it up? Or let's do this. I saw this on TikTok. It's like,
so this is actually a thing with life, dude. So I call it the complexity trap, where smart people are drawn to complexity because they think it makes them sound interesting and smart. So like, if you're at a party and people are like, hey, what are you doing for, like, you look strong, what are you doing for training? And you say like, yeah, you know, I just do like, you know, dumbbell bench and some skull crushers for chest. They're like, oh, that's not that interesting. Then you talk to someone, like the next dude over is like, oh, I do a cryotherapy, dual phase, you know, intermittent fasting, whatever. And people want to talk to that guy because it sounds more interesting.
And they also,
so you
like
get
their minds get attached to that.
Yeah. You start like seeking out complexity.
Yes.
When the answer is actually simplicity. Like, when have you ever pursued the simple path in your health, in your relationships, business, and regretted it? Never. The simple stuff always works.
You only regret the...
I mean, nutrition, dude, just eat whole unprocessed foods. Eat foods where you can say the ingredient in one word. Never get fat. I'm gonna write a whole book about that. Call it the one single ingredient foods.
I mean, yeah, that kind of applies to me in production, filming.
Yeah, just do the simple stuff well.
Simple stuff well.
Don't need to get fancy.
Nope. No Adobe After Effects.
I just don't even think it drives. I don't think more people watch it. Like, it's Look at Sam Sulik, dude.
I know. It's because
What does he do? It's because it's raw. It's real. Like people, you just feel like you're hanging out with him.
Yep. And then just simple, just work. You just got to put in the work every day.
I got to split in about 10.
Really?
Yeah, I got to get home
Okay.
by noon. Dude, it's already been an hour.
Here's a question for you. If you're me, you're 27, you're me, you're in my shoes. What are you doing on a daily basis? How are you constructing your daily life in order to get to where you want to be? Morning to night, every day.
Damn.
Answer the question.
Yeah.
Simply. You don't need to go crazy in depth.
I'm up every day early.
Doing what?
4:15 up. Cold plunge.
Why?
When I wake up, wake my ass up, do something hard to start the day.
Okay.
For me, the most important block of the day is my first 2 hours. I mean, I'm a big believer that the way you start your day sets the tone for the entire day.
Yeah.
And for me, that first couple hours of focus, before my son is awake, before my wife's awake, if I don't crush that and really set the tone, my whole day just off to a bad start. So I always I do the cold plunge, and then I get straight to my desk, I get a coffee, and I'm at my desk working on whatever the big creative project is for the first 2.5 hours. Just focus, classical music on, lock in. And I have breakfast with my son. Shit. Then I get my training in. That's normally a run, the lift with you, and then lunch with my family, and then I sit back at my desk probably from 12:30 to 3. Then I take my son from 3 to 4, go in the pool, hang out, afternoon with him. It's awesome. Go for a walk, get dinner stuff, early dinner, and then I normally do reading and sauna and prepare for the next day.
What does that preparation look like?
Just set up whatever I'm gonna do the next morning. So I'll read in the sauna around 6 o'clock, 6:30.
What are you currently reading?
Whatever my team sends me a brief for the day of interesting ideas,
Cool.
things I'm working on.
So
I might sketch out a chapter that I'm trying to write in my book.
Yeah.
It's my time when I don't have any technology in the sauna. So no stimulus. So it's just I create space. I'm big on I don't really believe in mindfulness. I believe in creating space. And so it doesn't have to be meditating is the point. It's it can be on a walk. It can be in the sauna. It's just create space so you can breathe, so you can think, recharge, reset. And if I do that regularly, everything else works out. So yeah, and then so after I come out of the sauna, normally I have a whole bunch of ideas and things. So I'll go sit down at my desk and get that set up for the next day, whatever it is.
Right before bed?
Yeah, right before bed. And I get into bed by 7:30. Go watch a show with my wife. Fall asleep by 8:15, 8:30, so that I can get my 7 or 8 hours.
Makes you happy, right? When you're that structured.
So good.
Nothing better.
Nothing better. Being out of my routine is the worst.
Yep.
That's why traveling's tough. That's why I do my best to when I travel, still be in all my routines.
Do you think that being...
Ship stuff to the hotel that I need.
Yeah, well, not everyone can do that, but do you think that being really attached to structure in your life and order could also
Yes, be a negative.
be a negative?
Yes. And it is for me sometimes.
Yeah.
I get in my own head. When I'm out of my routine, I just fall apart. So I need to think about what are the non-negotiables, what are the super simple elements of it that I can apply no matter where I am. But that morning focus, cold water, you can do that anywhere. Take a quick cold shower and then just get a coffee and sit down and do some focus.
Yeah,
Doesn't need to be 2.5 hours. Doesn't need to be at your desk. But finding that, and then the other one is creating the space. No matter where you are, you can find that. You just need to find a way to find it. Go for a walk, whatever it is. As long as I do those two things and I move, get a workout in, then I'm I'm good. It doesn't matter. I'm not gonna get as much done as I would if I was at home.
Of course.
But pretty close. So
were you like this before?
I was always pretty maniacal about my routines.
Yeah. Well, why
Pissed
you're
my
not-
family off my whole life.
Really?
My mom makes like my whole life. My mom's giving me a hard time. Like, why aren't you eating all these food? Why are you doing this? Why are you
trying to die
why do you
in
need
5
to work
years?
out today? Why do you need it? But like, got me a scholarship to go play baseball in college. Like, it got me everywhere where I am now. So like, you're gonna piss some people off along the way, and most people will never understand why you're doing the things you're doing, because people don't want you to approach life that way, because it's not normal. Like, people will think you're crazy. People will say you're lame. Your old friends will be like not wanting to hang out with you, texting you anymore. And like, you're gonna have to lose some friends along the way if you want to make progress in the way that you want to in life. That's just the way it is. Great session.
Look at that shit. Love it. Good job.
Session. Hey, brother. All right, that's a wrap. Out. Chest, shoulders, triceps, and some mentorship. That's all for today.